There's more coming up this morning for you on Daybreak.
Good morning and thanks for waking up with us to start off a new week. It's Monday, August 26th. I'm Lauren Barnes.
And I'm Joe Moreno. Time to get after it in this final week of the month right now.
Oh my goodness. It's almost September, you're right.
It is, and I was in St. Louis seeing some family and things over the weekend, but great weather there. Just walking outside, it was perfect room temperature.
Well, lucky you.
How was it here?
Not good.
I missed out.
I mean, good if you just want to lay around. I had actually a bachelorette party on Saturday with one of my girlfriends, and we went to the lake. We got rained on and made it fun anyway, but it was raining, yeah.
We had those clouds
Really?
stick around all weekend, temperatures in the 70s, got downpoured on yesterday. So, yeah, you're welcome.
All right, yeah. All right, it was fun for me, guys. Sorry about that.
Okay, good for you.
Is this going to linger around at all or not?
We'll have a quiet afternoon today, warm, humid, couple of clouds, and then a severe threat comes through late this evening and overnight. We're starting out quiet this morning with just a couple of clouds out there, dry roads, again, just pretty warm and humid, and I think it's going to stay pretty quiet through much of the afternoon. It's 68 degrees in Branson, 72 in Springfield, and 72 in Fort Leonard. Dew points are right behind those temperatures in the lower 70s, so it is really thick out there again this morning, uncomfortable and oppressive on that Mungy-meter map. So we're looking at dry roads through most of the afternoon today. You'll get to and from work and school more or less fine. Then we're looking at very, very late evening commute could be wet as those showers and storms come in from the north and west. So by dismissal, 87 degrees and partly cloudy, still warm and still humid. Then late evening and overnight, these showers and storms roll through with an enhanced risk of severe weather in the orange, meaning some of these storms will be strong to severe. So we've got to talk about timing and threats of that. Then the rest of the work week looks pretty quiet. Your full forecast is up in 10 minutes.
We begin this morning with a local business doing some good for the community.
Our aim is to help the impoverished in our community.
True Brew in Ava. It's a coffee shop that's part business, part soup kitchen. It's owned and operated by Bread of Life Giving and Sharing, and customers can walk in and pay for a meal, or if they can't afford it, can point to a card on the tables that offers a free meal instead. All the money made from paying customers goes to the meals to those that can't afford, and Tom Martinsick explains the process is also done quietly.
There's a stigma associated sometimes with soup kitchens, and so we kind of meld it together so anybody can walk in here, point to a card on the table or up here at the register, and their meal's no charge. And so they maintain their dignity, and we keep it quiet.
What a neat idea. It's also your right to know this morning. Customers are dealing with the aftermath of Hy-Vee's recent data breach. Earlier this month, you might remember Hy-Vee announced customers' card info had been hacked at some of the chain's fuel pumps, restaurants, and coffee shops. Well, now that info is being sold online. Card information for a customer is being sold anywhere from $17 to $35 each. Hy-Vee shared in a statement they're aware that the information is being sold and are working to notify banks. The company operates more than 240 stores across the Midwest region.
After searching for hours Saturday night, a man's body has been found at Lake of the Ozarks. 23-year-old Sean Burgess jumped into the water while watching the shootout race on the lake and never came back up. According to the Highway Patrol, a dive team recovered his body shortly before 11 Saturday night.
In Joplin, flash floods took the life of a 13-year-old boy. The boy was walking near a drainage ditch Saturday morning when he fell in and was swept away by the water. Officers found the boy near a bridge and were able to get him out, but he later died in the hospital.
Flash floods also turned deadly in Arkansas as a woman died in Fort Smith after her car was taken away by the water. 47-year-old Deborah Stevens was delivering newspapers when this happened.
The vehicle was present for a good 30 minutes or so, and then over time, you just seen the lights, the dome lights, everything disappear.
Police have not said if she tried to drive through the water or if it just caught her off guard. They believe Stevens wasn't able to get out of her vehicle in enough time. Area residents explain that their issues have become secondary now to keeping the Stevens family in their thoughts during this tough time.
But she had her whole life in front of her, and I really am so sad for what the family has to deal with right now.
1 in 8 women struggles with infertility. Numbers from the CDC show 7.3 million Americans have used infertility services. While many companies are adding those services to healthcare plans, a lot of insurance companies don't cover it, leaving some couples going deep into debt trying to have a child. In this Color 10 investigation, our Heather Lewis looks at the options, cost, and outcomes of women in Springfield determined to grow their families.
The sound of a baby crying, something Angela Crawford waited 3 years to hear.
I definitely am one of the lucky ones, but if you'd known me with the 3 years that we were trying, you would not have called me the lucky one.
The journey of infertility was not one Angela and her husband were expecting. After all, about 85% of couples will be able to conceive after 12 months of trying. That's according to Dr. Mary Duff with the Farrell Duncan Clinic.
Things like endometriosis, uterine fibroids, polycystic ovarian syndrome, or simply very irregular menstrual cycles. For any of those things, you should be coming in as soon as you're open to conception. There's no need to wait 12 months.
The first step is evaluating the couple, making sure the woman is ovulating.
Did some labs, and she noticed that my progesterone was low, so then we tried this medication 1 month, and then we adjusted it the next month, and adjusted things the next month. Turns out I have PCOS. Also, throughout our journey, we got my husband a test at one point in time. The urologist said he was fine, just take some vitamin D. Well, when we got further into testing with our reproductive endocrinologist, he actually had low motility, and it was a bigger concern than what we were led to believe.
In fact, the CDC shows infertility is about 8% a male factor. In June of 2015, at the age of 30, Angela and her husband decided to start in vitro fertilization.
I had checked with my insurance and I learned that I had coverage, which is nice because IVF procedures cost in the ballpark of $25,000 just for the procedure that normally doesn't include meds.
Common infertility expenses include genetic testing, semen analysis, fertility drugs, intrauterine insemination, in vitro fertilization, frozen embryo transfer, assisted reproductive technology, and storing frozen embryos. It took about 7 months for Angela to go through the process.
To prepare myself, because they had to do labs on me and ultrasounds, to do the injections. And keep in mind, when I did my round of IVF, I had to go up to St. Louis every other day for about 3 weeks just to have a blood draw.
Washington University was one of the few hospitals in network with Angela's insurance, but it's in St. Louis, which is 3 hours away.
I did the math because there was also some lost wages. I had to take PTO for this, or I would just take unpaid time from work.
With insurance, one IVF treatment costs Angela $2,400 out of pocket. Lost wages, $2,100, for a total of about $4,500. Invoices from the hospital and missing work, though, might not compare to the emotional and physical toll the process takes.
Well, if you have a fear of needles, you get over it pretty quickly because you're doing 2 to 3 injections a day. These are all hormone medications. And so you take a person that's already in a pretty rough emotional state, and then you just throw hormones on top of that, and it can really just crank things up to an 11. It makes things really hard and depressing.
Flash forward to today, and the aches and pains of the process don't compare to the joy of being a mother to not 1 but 2 children, all thanks to successful in vitro fertilization. In Springfield, Heather Lewis, Ozarks First.
So that's the positive results from someone who went through in vitro fertilization. But what happens when the first round is unsuccessful or insurance doesn't cover it at all? You may be surprised to learn about some of the options available. Heather has part 2 of this story coming up tonight.
We're just getting started here this Monday morning for you. Still ahead, President Trump says he may regret the most recent round of tariffs on China.
And lobsters have become a hot commodity in the trade war. Your Money Watch is next.
From Color 10 Ozarks First, Lauren Barnes, Joe Morano, and weather with meteorologist Elisa Raffa. This is Color 10 News Daybreak. Now weather with meteorologist Elisa Raffa.
Good morning and thanks for joining us on this Monday. We're starting out with a couple of clouds in Springfield this morning. Otherwise, quiet. You'll have smooth sailing on your way to work and school this morning with dry roads. Temperatures are just warm in the lower 70s. Now, what we're tracking for today is a front that's sitting up in the Dakotas this morning, prompting a severe thunderstorm watch for parts of Nebraska. This line of showers and storms will take its time, but it will get here by later on this evening and overnight. So I expect a mostly quiet afternoon with these showers and storms arriving later on today. Now, with the heat and humidity of the day that we'll have today, we'll have temperatures in the upper 80s. It's going to feel close to 100, plus some wind energy in the lower levels of the atmosphere. All of those combined is going to bring us a threat of severe weather. We have an enhanced risk in the orange for our communities pretty much from Springfield and then areas to the north and west. Now, this orange means that a handful, some strong to severe storms will be likely, and then we see an increase in number and intensity as we go down to the south and east, expecting that severe threat to diminish, especially south and east of I-44. Now, again, this timing is going to be late in the evening and into the overnight. I expect initially a threat of large hail to tennis ball size, an isolated tornado, even some localized flooding. Then we'll see these showers and storms form into a line and push a damaging wind threat through the Ozarks with those winds up to 70 miles per hour or greater. So you could see this really in this map form here, where we do carry that isolated tornado threat, especially up to the north and west of Springfield. The same thing with that tennis ball size hail threat, but that wind threat, I think, is going to be the most widespread and the most significant, especially if we get these storms to form into a really good line. That's going to push 70 miles per hour or greater through much of the area, and you can see that high risk in the pink there for those damaging winds. Timing of this, again, I think most of the afternoon is dry. You pick up the kids from school, partly cloudy, warm, temperatures in the upper 80s. Not much really pops until after about 4 or 5 o'clock. And again, we'll start with that tornado threat, possibly initially, and that large hail threat. Then as those storms form into a line, we'll have that damaging wind threat push towards midnight, maybe a little bit later. And that flooding threat, even though this line of showers and storms will move pretty quick, it will be capable of dropping some quick, heavy amounts of rain, 2 inches or more. So we do carry that flooding threat as well. So again, that's the timing of some of these threats. So hour by hour, dry through most of the afternoon, partly cloudy skies, temperatures warm in the middle and upper 80s. Then look at that timestamp. Not really until after 6 o'clock will we see showers and storms start to fire up to the north and west, and then that's where initially we could pop maybe an isolated tornado and hail to tennis ball size or greater. Then we push this line towards I-44 around 9, 10 o'clock towards midnight, and look at how it organizes. That's where we get a push of damaging winds, and we could get an isolated tornado embedded in that line. That line pushes south and east of the interstate after midnight, with it possibly falling apart a little bit. It should diminish that severe threat as we head to the south and east. We clear the showers and storms by tomorrow morning. We'll start out quiet with just some cloud cover, and then by tomorrow afternoon, mostly sunny skies and much cooler, temperatures in the upper 70s and lower 80s. So again, don't expect much today. Showers and storms don't fire up to the north and west until about 5. Springfield's timing is about 9 p.m. to midnight. Initially, an isolated tornado and large hail possible. Then we set up that squall line with the damaging winds. Storms clear by tomorrow morning. 87 degrees today, mix of sun and clouds, warm and humid. Some strong and severe storms overnight, so please be careful. 67 degrees there. 82 tomorrow, mostly sunny and much cooler on the backside of that front thanks to north and west winds. The work week looks quiet. Mostly sunny skies, temperatures in the middle 80s through Thursday. Our next cold front could come through on Saturday.
Stock futures rebounded a bit, but still point to declines at open on Wall Street. This as the U.S. trade war with China continues to escalate. The Dow fell 623 points, the Nasdaq dropped 239, and the S&P 500 shed 75 points. The trade battle is one of the hot topics at the G7 summit in France. President Trump on Sunday said he had second thoughts when asked by reporters about his threat to increase tariffs on Chinese goods. That was after China announced plans to slap tariffs on $75 billion in U.S. products. The White House later issued a statement saying the president's words were misinterpreted and that he, quote, regrets not raising the tariffs higher. Meantime, the lobster industry is among those feeling the pinch of the dispute. The U.S. exported 80% less of the delicacy to Beijing through June of this year compared to the same time last year. The shift comes as China, which is a huge and growing customer for lobster, slapped heavy tariffs on U.S. imports of the seafood and other food products in July of 2018. The loss has brought layoffs to some Maine-based businesses. Exports from Canada, though, are on the rise as they catch the same species as U.S. lobstermen. And that's your CBS Money Watch report. For more, head to cbsmoneywatch.com. At the New York Stock Exchange, I'm Mark Liverman.
Up next in sports, college football makes its return. The Missouri State Bears are prepping for game number 1 of the season. We'll hear from Stack and the crew when we come back.
It's late August, school's back in session, and all the local coffee shops are trying to be the first to sell their pumpkin spice beverages, which means one thing: football is back. That's the case for the Missouri State Bears, as it's officially Northern Arizona game week. And in our Bear Nation report, team plenty excited to get the 2019 season started. The Bears traveling to Flagstaff, Arizona for a Thursday night contest against the Northern Arizona Lumberjacks. It's the second straight season the Bears will open play on a Thursday night. It's also against a familiar foe. The Bears and Jacks are meeting for the second time in program history. The Bears topped the Big Sky foe a season ago with a convincing 40-8 win at home. We all know it's a new year, new team on both sides, and Bears head coach Dave Steckel says he enjoys opening the season on Thursdays, although it might mess with the body clock.
Well, today's Tuesday, actually, for me and my brain and body type. Tomorrow's Wednesday, so I actually enjoy opening up on a Thursday night. And the reason why is because you have more time, like he just asked, to prepare for the first game, and that gives you more time for your next game. But in our case, we got lots of time to prepare for next game because we go right into a bye. So I actually always loved opening on Thursday nights. I always have.
Royals and Cards both in play on Sunday to complete Players Weekend. Kansas City avoids the sweep in a near meltdown as it escapes with a 9-8 win over the Indians. They are home against Oakland starting tonight. The Cards a big win over the Rockies. They get their division lead to 2.5 games over the Cubbies. Now they travel to Milwaukee for a series with the Brew Crew starting Monday night. The Springfield Cardinals wrapping up a series in Midland. The Rockhounds take the win on Sunday 7-2, completing the weekend split. Springfield drops to 58-74 this season. The game also wraps up the Cards' away games. They finish the year with an 8-game homestand, which begins on Monday as the Frisco Rough Riders visit Hammond. Springfield also announced a shuttle service for the final homestand of the season. You can find that information on our website, ozarksfirst.com. That's a look at your Monday morning sports.
And it's that time for the Pro Football Challenge. Here's how you sign up. Go to the Living Local, click Contests and Events, click the Pro Football Challenge, sign in or create an account, and then pick the winners from every NFL game now through Week 17. The grand prize here locally is a 55-inch TV. The national grand prize, get this, a trip for two to Hawaii.
I could be dreaming about that right now through all of football season.
I know. I think we better sign up. Of course, Daybreak will have a team, so you can play against us, too, and that's always really fun.
Yes, because I'm usually not good.
Me neither, but that's okay. We enjoy it. And Steck there is trying to confuse us on what day it is. We have enough trouble remembering the days as it is.
I never know what day it is.
But it's a muggy Monday. Today, yes. I'll remember that.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be warm and humid out there, and that humidity will eventually fuel some severe storms by this evening and overnight. We're starting out with temperatures in the 70s this morning. It's 72 degrees in Springfield, 68 in Branson, and 70 in Harrison. It feels uncomfortable and oppressive out there this morning. At the pool today, a mix of sun and clouds, a mostly dry afternoon. A temperature of 87 degrees will probably feel closer to the upper 90s. The Cardinals start their last homestand today, 6:30 for that first pitch, warm and humid, 81 degrees. By the end of the game, though, we're going to have to watch out to see how quick these showers and storms could arrive. I'm optimistic they might be able to squeeze the whole game in, but the last couple of innings might be in jeopardy. We're looking at a severe threat with these showers and storms as they roll through. That orange enhanced risk for Springfield and areas to the north and west. Tennis ball size hail, 70-mile-per-hour winds, an isolated tornado, and localized flash flooding will all be concerns as we head through the evening. The greatest threat is really going to be those 70-mile-per-hour winds. You could see that pink high area. That means that we're looking at that 70-mile-per-hour wind threat probably being the most widespread threat, right? That's going to be the thing that we're really concerned about as we hone into this evening. Really dry all day. Look, that start at 2 p.m. You'll pick up the kids from school, still dry. Then we're looking at those showers and storms firing up about 5 o'clock to the north and west. Probably initially a tornado and hail threat, and then we'll keep that damaging wind threat past midnight on the overnight. So hour by hour, we're looking at mostly quiet afternoon, temperatures in the middle and upper 80s. By 8 o'clock, you can see those showers and storms up to the north and west, probably pushing through Springfield and the I-44 corridor around 10 o'clock to midnight tonight, and that's where we get that push of damaging winds. The severe threat diminishes to the south and east, and storms clear by tomorrow morning, so you should have a dry morning commute. And then we're looking at much cooler sunshine tomorrow afternoon, temperatures in the upper 70s and lower 80s. So again, here are the highlights of what to expect. Mostly concerned about a squall line setting up with those damaging winds. Isolated tornadoes could be embedded within that line, so something to keep in mind. Have a way to get warnings with this being a late evening and overnight threat. Have something that you know is going to wake you up, right? Your phone, have that on loud. This way, if warnings are issued, you know that you'll be able to get up and stay safe if you need to. Storms clear by the morning. If you need to mow the lawn, will be dry this afternoon and tomorrow afternoon, again with those storms overnight.
Up next, the G7 summit continues in Europe.
We'll talk about the focus on trade between several nations when we come back. Welcome back, everyone. Day 3 of the G7 summit is underway in the south of France. So far, trade and trade wars have been the main focus on the agenda. We check in with Laura Podesta this morning for more.
While most Americans were sleeping, President Trump was back at it for a third day, meeting with world leaders at the Group of 7 summit in France. Yesterday, President Trump unveiled a broad new trade deal with Japan.
It's a very big transaction, and we've agreed in principle. It's billions and billions of dollars. Tremendous for the farmers.
The leaders have otherwise agreed on little else. A senior Trump administration official tells CBS News the White House feels French President Emmanuel Macron is wasting too much time on things like climate change and gender equality. They believe Macron is trying to score political points by isolating the U.S. president. Mr. Trump also talked trade with new UK Prime Minister Boris Johnson, who said he's not a fan of tariffs. Reporters asked the president if he had any second thoughts about escalating the trade battle with China.
Yeah, for sure. Why not? Might as well. Might as well.
You have second thoughts about escalating the war with
I have
China?
second thoughts about everything.
The White House later issued a statement saying what the president meant is that he wishes the tariffs on China were even higher. Laura Podesta, CBS News.
Later today, the president is slated to meet one-on-one with leaders from India and Germany and is also expected to hold a G7 closing news conference with French President Macron. Still ahead for you, it's the bottom of the hour. We'll talk how a veterinarian shortage is affecting livestock farmers around the Ozarks.
Plus, an Arkansas woman uses Narcan to save a life.
Good morning. My name is Ruth and I go to Robertson Community School. Today is August 26th and the lunch menu is country fried steak patty, cheeseburger, dinner roll, steamed zucchini, mandarin, and oranges. Bye. Have a great day.
Welcome back to Daybreak this morning. It's another Monday, August 26th. I'm Lauren Barnes.
And I'm Joe Morano. Plenty to get to here as we roll on through to just start this week off right. You know, just gotta have a lot of this going this morning, right?
That's for sure. Can I tell you, whenever I was leaving my house this morning, my cat got out.
Oh.
She was chasing the bugs. And I'm like, oh, why is it so buggy? But don't worry, I got her. But I'm like, it's a Monday.
That's good. Yeah, that'd be an awful start to the week.
Yeah.
Hopefully no one at home is dealing with that right now, you know?
Elisa, did we decide that bugs is because of the water and humidity? Do we know?
Yes. What could be an issue is we got that very heavy rain yesterday. So if any of that water is just like stuck and not moving, and it's really warm out there, that's where you'll get those mosquitoes and the gross things.
I'm going to blame it on that.
We got to watch out for that then, right?
Yeah, we're going to have a dry afternoon, pretty warm and summery, but a strong cold front arrives this evening and overnight with a severe threat, so got to keep eyeballs peeled for that. Otherwise, a dry start this morning, smooth sailing as you head to work and school, and just a little bit warm, a couple of clouds, but should be a non-issue as we head through the day today. It's 72 degrees in Springfield, 69 in Monette, 72 in Mount Grove, and 70 in Ava. We're looking at these dew points in the upper 60s and lower 70s right behind those temperatures, so that's telling us that it feels oppressive and uncomfortable out there. So as we hit the roads, we're looking at some dry conditions through pretty much all afternoon. A very late evening commute could have a couple of storms up to the north and west, but by dismissal, 87 degrees, partly cloudy, warm and humid. An enhanced risk of severe weather is posted for this evening and overnight in the orange. That means we're looking at some strong to severe storms looking likely. We've got to talk about timing and threats. We've got many details on that for you, and then the rest of the work week looks quiet. Your full forecast is up in 10 minutes.
All right, thank you, Elisa. We begin this half hour with some news around the region for you. Low wages and student debt is fueling a shortage of veterinarians across the state. Many new vets are moving into cities, which promise higher wages, but that leaves livestock in rural areas to suffer without adequate services. Vernon County is struggling with about one vet for every 200,000 livestock animals. An expert says this could soon impact not just the animals, but the safety of food distributed for human consumption.
A woman in Fayetteville is being called a hero after saving someone from dying of an overdose. While visiting a friend in Dallas, she heard a cry for help. Lauren Krakow reports on the woman who came to the rescue.
Amanda Kimbrough was waiting in the car for her friend when she heard people screaming for help. When she got out of the car to see what was going on, she heard they were yelling for Narcan. Kimbrough says when she arrived at the scene, the guy was not breathing. She continuously did CPR until she was able to use the naloxone vial she keeps in her car.
I eventually ended up adding that person on Facebook, and he's a friend now and not a statistic.
Kimbrough was able to save his life thanks to the Matt Adams Foundation, a nonprofit founded in memory of a man who died from overdose. The foundation gives opioid overdose reversal kits to people in the community.
She was just placed at the right spot at the right time.
To your news around America this morning, thousands came out to Gem City Shine yesterday. It was a star-filled free event hosted by Dave Chappelle in Dayton, Ohio. He hosted the show in light of the deadly shooting that happened in the downtown area of Dayton earlier this month. Some of the event's performers included Stevie Wonder, Chance the Rapper, and comedian Jon Stewart.
Harvey Weinstein will appear in court today for an arraignment on an indictment. That's according to a Manhattan District Attorney's office. The indictment returned by a grand jury has not been publicly disclosed, and it's not clear whether more charges will be brought against Weinstein. Today's hearing could also take up his request to have the case moved out of New York City and the possibility of one accuser testifying in the case. Weinstein pleaded not guilty to the 5 felony charges against him. That trial is set to begin September 9th.
A rollover crash in California leaves 2 children dead. Officials say the SUV they were in veered into a center divider Saturday before going to the right-hand shoulder and overturning. A 10-year-old boy and 13-year-old girl were ejected from the vehicle. The boy died at the scene and the girl died later at the hospital due to those injuries sustained. According to Highway Patrol, both children were not wearing seatbelts. The driver of the SUV and other passengers in the vehicle were injured, but no word on their conditions.
The North Carolina Department of Transportation crews are working to clear a mess out of the Nantahala River Gorge in western North Carolina. There were 4 landslides Saturday night, about a dozen people stuck in their cars between the landslides. Crews cleared a path and they were able to get out. About 50 workers are clearing and repairing the highway there. The goal is to have both sides of the road open again by Tuesday night.
We're starting out with some dry roads in Springfield on our Color 10 Live Drive. Just warm and humid out there this morning. A warm and humid afternoon will fuel strong and severe storms as a front comes through late. The latest details on this enhanced risk coming up right after the break.
Now, forecast first on Color 10 News, Ozarks First.
Good morning and thanks for joining us on this Monday. A quiet start out there this morning. Dry roads, just a couple of clouds, and temperatures warm in the lower 70s. What we're really watching today is this front that's draped across the Dakotas, prompting a severe thunderstorm watch for parts of Nebraska this morning. This front will work its way south and east and arrive in the Ozarks here by this evening. And as we head through the afternoon, we're going to be dry, warm, and humid. Now, that heat and humidity coupled with some wind energy in the lower levels of the atmosphere, that's going to spark a severe threat for us by this evening and overnight. We have an enhanced risk in the orange for Springfield and areas up to the north and west. That means that some strong to severe storms will be likely here through the evening and overnight. That threat will decrease in number and intensity as you go south and east, and that slight and the marginal risk, expecting those storms to weaken as they push through the area. So what we're expecting here is a threat for tennis ball size hail, isolated tornadoes, probably initially. Then we set up a line of damaging winds to 70 miles per hour that will push through the Ozarks, and then even though the front will move more or less pretty quick, we could still get some isolated flooding because the rain that could squeeze out of this could be pretty hefty and come down pretty quick. So you can see that tornado threat does remain pretty low and isolated, and especially in the enhanced risk up to the north and west. Same thing with the tennis ball size hail. The threat that I think is going to be most widespread and most significant for us is going to be that wind threat up to 70 mile per hour winds, and you can see that pink high area, again meaning it will probably impact most of us. As far as timing, we're dry all day. You pick up the kids from school and it's still going to be just partly cloudy and warm. We don't fire up these showers and storms until late this evening up to the north and west, probably starting with a window for an isolated tornado first, maybe that large hail to tennis ball size. Then we get everything to organize into a line and really push that damaging wind threat a little bit past midnight. And then with that flooding threat, again, it will be there. Maybe not the most significant threat because the front moved quickly, but we could still get some pretty quick isolated downpours. So hour by hour, mix of sun and clouds today. Temperatures warm in the middle and upper 80s. Then we get showers and storms to fire up by maybe 5 or 6 o'clock up to the north and west. This is where we could have maybe an isolated tornado. Isolated cases of very large hail. We push that line towards Springfield and the I-44 corridor after about 9 o'clock tonight, maybe until about midnight for that time frame. And then as you get those storms to organize into a line, that's where you get that push of damaging winds, and we could get an isolated embedded tornado within this line. Then the storms go to the south and east of the interstate and should start to break apart a little bit, or at least diminish with that severe threat. Maybe some wind gusts to 60 miles per hour instead. And then we clear all storms by tomorrow morning. Should have a dry commute in the morning, and then we'll have sunshine and much cooler temperatures tomorrow afternoon. So again, what we're watching here is nothing really this afternoon. Storms not really firing up until later on this evening after 5 o'clock, pushing through Springfield through midnight. Isolated tornado and large hail threat will happen initially, then more concerned about that damaging wind threat rolling through Springfield. Storms clear southeast by morning. 87 degrees today, warm and humid with those showers and storms rolling through late, some of which could be strong to severe, so please stay weather aware. 82 tomorrow, mostly sunny and much cooler thanks to north and west winds on the backside of the front. The work week will be quiet.
Up next, environmental leaders are calling the Amazon fire a disaster.
But one celebrity is pledging millions to stop the fire. We'll explain why up next. Welcome back to your news around the world. The Amazon rainforest is on fire, and world leaders, environmentalists, and people around the globe are calling it a disaster. Major anti-government protests broke out on Friday as Brazilians call on the government to protect the Amazon. Under international pressure, Brazil's president said on Friday he plans to deploy the army to tackle the wildfires raging in the Amazon forest.
Leonardo DiCaprio's new environmental fund is actually pledging $5 million to help save that rainforest from those fires. The Earth Alliance is giving up the money, which also includes people like Steve Jobs' widow, as well as billionaire investor Brian Sheth. Fires have increased in the Amazon this year, and the current burning that we just showed you is burning at its highest rate since 2013.
Hong Kong police deployed tear gas on a small group of protesters last night following a largely peaceful march. Protesters are faced with the police by throwing bricks and throwing back the tear gas canisters. The protesters have broke away from the main march and proceeded onto an extended route that was not approved by police. Protesters used bricks, traffic cones, and street railings to make makeshift barricades.
Your entertainment news is up next here on Daybreak. Amazon Studios coming out with more big-name entertainment.
Plus, Netflix gets set to release another romantic comedy.
Good morning, it's 5:50. We're checking your weather on the 10s here on Color 10. A warm and dry start out there this morning. It's 72 degrees in Springfield, 68 in Branson, and 72 in Fort Leonard. Of course, it feels uncomfortable and really oppressive out there. Pretty thick this morning. At the pool today, you'll have a couple of clouds, still warm and humid. Temperatures in the upper 80s will feel like upper 90s. The Springfield Cardinals start their last home stretch tonight. We'll start out dry. By the end of the game, we start to look at some showers and storms really starting to get a little bit closer. I think most, if not all, of the game gets through dry. We just have to keep an eye out on those last couple of innings. Temperatures in the upper 70s. Now, as those storms roll through, we do have an enhanced risk of severe weather in the orange, meaning some of these storms will be strong to severe. Threats of isolated tornadoes, tennis ball size hail, 70-mile-per-hour winds, and localized flooding will be issues, with the damaging wind threat being the healthiest, most widespread threat. And you could see that here on the map. We've got that red and pink area of the enhanced and high risk for those damaging winds up to 70 miles per hour or greater, where the tennis ball size hail and the tornado threats are much more isolated. isolated. Timing of this will be late in the evening and into the overnight, dry after 2 o'clock. We're looking at those storms after 5, with that window for the damaging wind threat being, I think, the longest. So hour by hour, mostly, partly to mostly cloudy today and dry. Showers and storms start to pop to the north and west by this evening, crossing the I-44 corridor between 9 tonight and midnight with that damaging wind threat, pushing south and east after midnight with that diminishing severe threat, and then all storms clear by tomorrow morning. Tomorrow afternoon will be mostly sunny and much cooler, with temperatures in the upper 70s and lower 80s. So again, I'm not expecting much this afternoon. That timing not really until after 5. Probably an isolated tornado and large hail threat initially. Then we'll set up that damaging wind threat to roll through Springfield. Storms clear by tomorrow morning. A couple of good days to mow ahead this afternoon, and tomorrow afternoon will be fine because the storms will be overnight, and then we continue to dry out Wednesday and Thursday. Lauren?
A thriller based on the aftermath of 9/11 is coming to Amazon Prime, and Daniel Radcliffe is a different kind of hero. Michelle Medina has your eye on entertainment.
Have you seen the story today in the New York Times?
Get ready for high drama. Amazon Studios has released the trailer for The Report, starring Adam Driver and Annette Bening. The film tells the story of a government report on the CIA's excessive use of torture in the wake of the 9/11 attacks.
If it works, why do you need to do it 183 times?
Maybe when the report comes out, people will finally see that.
Amazon Studios will release The Report in theaters and on Prime Video in November.
In from America, right? I bet there's an intriguing backstory to your arrival.
Christina Milian is in love. Netflix released a look at the upcoming romantic comedy Falling in Love. Milian stars as a city girl, Gabriella, who, after losing her job and boyfriend, enters an online contest to own a New Zealand inn. Falling in Love streams on Netflix August 29th.
I need you two to help rescue them. We're running out of time.
A child's toy comes to life to save the world, at least on the big screen. Playmobil, an animated action adventure, takes 2 kids and whisks them off to save the world. Daniel Radcliffe and Adam Lambert lend their voices to 2 of the characters based on the popular toy. Playmobil hits theaters Friday. That's your eye on entertainment. Michelle Medina, CBS News, Los Angeles.
We've got a big-time birthday over in Washington.
A panda is celebrating its last birthday there. We'll tell you where he's moving to when we come back.
Baby celebrating a birthday.
Say
Like
that 10 times. Turning 4 years old in D.C.
This is at the Smithsonian's National Zoo, and got a big panda-friendly frozen cake. That's what I'm talking about.
I'm sure it's warm. The cake was made from his favorite foods, though. Diluted apple, grape juice, leaf eater biscuits, cooked sweet potatoes, and sugar cane.
Right,
Apple sounded good, and then the rest of it just went down.
The rest of it sounds like panda food.
So this bear is actually headed to China, right?
Yep, that was part of the breeding agreement. So his last birthday there in D.C.
Oh, very
Going out with a bang, right? Our 6 o'clock hour of Daybreak is up in 3 minutes, everyone. Don't go anywhere.